Good morning, it's Sue from Paper Drake. I want to quickly show you this book I've made before my memory runs out on the phone. It's one which I've tried to depict the shore and the sea, and I've made it from a book by a local author called Derek Tangy, and he wrote a book called The Evening Gull. I've put some pictures of the Scilly Isles on here and distressed that, and it's the first time I've tried this kind of book because it's two-tier. I'll quickly try and show you. I took a tip from a Gibid and bought some of this beautiful handmade paper, which I think reminds me of the sea and the swirl of the surf. This top tier here is more representative of the sea, and the bottom one of the shore, but of course, as they do in real life, they do overlap a little as one thing bleeds into another. So the first two pages are a tracing paper to protect the underneath, and I've sprayed them to look like the spray of the sea and the sand as it churns as the tide comes in. And I've stuck some images of shells on there, and then underneath, a little tiny tuck spot under this bird's beak. This is a piece of netting that was washed up on the beach, and here I've put the sea on there, and I've tried to make that look a bit rusty because things do come in with a rusty colour on them as you go beach combing. And there's a name there of this beautiful fern that we find in the cliffs. Also, we find other self-seeded flowers and plants along the shoreline, in the grasses on the dunes, and I've pressed them and stuck them in. They're quite delicate. This little chap is swimming away. Here, it's a postcard with some beautiful black and white images of fish, and here there's a bird diving for his dinner, and I've backed that with some coffee stained paper. I'm pushing them in this way because they're quite difficult to get out from the top where I'm filming, which is on a window ledge where I can get the most light. Some nice journaling space there, or space to put photos. Some pressed flowers from the edges of the sea there. They're seeded from someone's garden, I expect. This coffee dye came out with a very sort of lichen-like appearance, which I liked and included. This big moth, which I'm afraid to say if that flew up at me one evening, I would be quite scared. This little edition here is taken from a book, and it's called The Ocean Turned to Stone, and the back of it I've decoupaged with some boat images, and then I've just flipped that up to make a tuck spot, and in it I've included a little encapsulated fern there, which isn't seaweed but was as near to seaweed as I could make it if you didn't want your book to smell of fish. That swivels around there and also lifts for some added space. Some happy little gulls nesting on the cliffs, and here I've sprayed this piece of paper and put on some images of birds just lifting off from the sea and the salty spray. Down here, another piece of map and piece of old paper, which is very thin, so I've just put it on there with some washi for a bit more journaling space. In here, got a little area where you can put specimens and some information about the types of seashore. And again here, another pull out where you can write with an image of a local flowers and weeds, and some more information about life in a rock pool. Here tuck spot with a small booklet, which also has a couple of little tuck spots there too. That's done on a rice paper, which I really love. Another tuck spot here and some stamping of foxgloves, goals, some more rice paper, some eco-dyed paper, and again here some coffee stained with a beautiful razor clam, which we often find on the beach. And then this bookmark is it's got a thick tracing paper on the back, or vellum I think they actually used, and acetate on the front, and that's got a dried leaf, and there's a little paper clip there to keep it safe. More journaling space and little birdies, some information about the pull of the moon on the tide, eco-dyed, bit of extra journaling space on this, or even you could stick things to this. This is more of the beautiful rice paper, sea ferns, and some handmade washi tape, puffins. This I made from some of, I think in America I think they call these paint chips, but we call them paint samples, and there's 2 paint samples, and they were displayed by hanging onto a hook, which I've put 2 together and used the hook space to encapsulate a dried flower, and I've put a piece of ivy on there. I like the way that came out. More tuck spots and journaling spaces. This is a postcard by Alfred Wallace, who did a lot of sea paintings and paintings of St Ives and the surrounding area. Life on sandy shores. To open the next signature. Lovely eco-dyed paper and some stamping. More plants, which I've covered with a piece of paper there to keep it safe, because they are delicate, these little flowers, but they're so beautiful. Mr. Puffin there with some more journaling paper. As I say, I didn't want to stick seaweed in here. It also does absorb moisture very easily, so I decided to include something to represent the leaves that get washed up from the sea, and so these are little fabric-y kinds of leaves. I think this looks like the seabed when we look through the waves. Nice bit of journaling space, and here I dyed some netting, as I like to call it. It's a piece of cotton, but it represents the netting and the little shells that get caught. More handmade washi, more little puffins and birds, more tuck spots, and this is a double tuck spot here with a beautiful butterfly, a little encapsulated plant, and some more fabric leaves that we find more inland where they've turned with the autumn. There's a little booklet in here that you can take out. This is the House on the Strand, which was a book by Daphne du Maurier, who featured in Cornwall very much. Some vellum, tuck spots. This little fish paperclip holds in some more postcards with beautiful images of birds and fish swimming in circles and flying in circles. This is a little shell that a friend of mine made for me on their super de duper new machine that does everything except the washing up, so I included that. This is a piece of eco-dyed paper which I thought looked like a shrimp, so I included that there, a bit of fun. This is a piece of netting, and I've put in a little starfish charm and a paper clip. And when I was looking at this close up, with the blue behind it, purpley blue stains from the inks reminded me of fish scales. Here is another of those little paint chips, as I've taken to calling them. I'll turn that around the other side there, and I've put a fern in there too. More eco-dyed paper, and beautiful. I was going to say sea urchin, but it's not. It's a jellyfish. And this here is some vellum by Tim Holtz, but the greens of it did remind me of the seaweed and some of the stuff we have brought in. And then this is another acetate covered sheet which reminded me of the seabed, and I stuck images of shells on top of that and underneath, so that when you lift it you can see a double image. And then this little chap is from a seal sanctuary quite close to us here. I backed it with an image of some sea coral, but he's so cute, and we can visit these. They rescue some of the seals that have been brought in injured, or they've swallowed plastic or something horrible like that, and they look after them and they stay as long as they need to, and then they are able to release them back to the sea when they're feeling better. And the last page here, this one has a tiny little tuck spot, and inside a piece of dried foliage. And then here, this is from a book of poems about the sea, and this one is by Emily Dickinson, and it says, "Exaltation is the going of an inland soul to sea, past the houses, past the headland, into deep eternity." And then the book plate is on the back here, and the handmade paper. And then I've tied it all as a fastening. I've knotted some string to make it look like the sailor's rope, and then I've included this lovely little piece of driftwood that I found down the steps here on the beach, and that ties it all together and keeps it all safe. I do hope that you've enjoyed looking at this book. I certainly enjoyed making it, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.